I feel like people think that when you're single, you must be lonely or you must be sad in your singleness. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that that's the whole idea that people think, oh, as you get older, like, oh, something must be wrong with her because she's single.
I have lost friends.
Yeah.
And just losing them, you think, hey, man, I thought this was being my life for a long time. Like, they added value to my life and everything. Like, why would they leave?
I've learned that the boldest men out there are not the single men.
Oh,
it's the married one.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Moore, and welcome to the How to Win podcast with Mike Moore, except it's me, Tiffany Moore. These podcasts are brought to you by 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 14 that says, "Now thanks be unto God who always causes us to triumph in Christ." This is the How to Win podcast, and this month we're going to be talking to couples and singles all about relationships, singleness, and different things like that. But in this episode, we're going to be talking navigating relationships and singleness. And in today's podcast, I have two beautiful people with me. I have Mr. Rod, who I sometimes call Rodney, and he's like, hey, this is not my name. It is not Rodney, it's Roderick. And we have Miss Jennifer. How are you guys doing?
Hey, we're feeling great.
I'm so glad to have y'all. So we were thinking, so how we do the podcast is we were like, okay, what couple do we think can help, benefit our audience and, the different things that we're talking about. And so we were trying to think about, okay, what single people do we want to bring into the podcast? And so we had a list of people. Now, Rod, I will say we didn't have as many single men to choose from, but you are at the top of the list.
Right.
And so we were like, hey, we need to get Rod and Jen onto the podcast. So for the people...
I made it.
Y'all made the cut. So for the people at home who may not know who you are, we'll start with you, Rod. If you would just let us know who you are and what do you do.
All right. So I am Roderick Parker Jr. I'm here in Birmingham, Alabama. I work at Faith Chapel, most loving church of all the world. I serve as communications coordinator. So the things I do, I handle things with social media. I work alongside our lead pastor, Pastor MK, with his social media. I do a lot of things with our youth ministry at Faith Chapel students, with our teenagers. I do a lot of stuff outside of that, make music, I do content for myself, do videography and photography with my best friend. So those are some things that I do. I love enjoying time with my family, too.
That's good. That's dope.
Hey. Come on, you got it, girl.
Like, shoot. Hey. Well, I'm Jennifer. I am a nurse. I work as a pediatric ICU nurse, as a travel nurse. So I'm at multiple hospitals. And I like to think of myself as an ideator because I have so many ideas and things that I do. But the main two I'm focusing on right now are relaunching my nonprofit organization through a podcast. So thanks for this podcast invitation. And I have a game called Meet Me Mommy.
Oh, nice. No, you hadn't.
It's a communication style card game that, with the goal that helps moms and daughters increase their relationship, I guess.
Communication. I love that. Okay, so in today's episode, we're going to be talking about embracing singleness. We're also going to be talking about social media, the impacts on relationship, and then also Christian dating. So when we were, again, thinking about the guests, I thought about y'all because y'all seem like y'all are embracing singleness and you enjoy it. But before we begin, are you all single?
Oh, I'm single.
You gotta ask nowadays. Like, do anybody think?
Okay.
Hey, let it be known. Go ahead. That's your camera right there. Let it know.
Single.
There you go.
Listen, you gotta ask these questions because when you on, I've been on dating apps and I'd be like, listen, do anybody else think they in a relationship with you? So you have to be specific.
Like, are you single? Or are you single?
Right. Let's explain it. You know what I'm saying? Well, for me,
both of you all are single.
Yeah, I'm getting to know somebody right now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Getting to know somebody. It's going well, going smooth.
We love that. We love that, getting to know some people. Okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about some of the, I call it a stigmatism around singleness, but another word I like to use is single shaming. And so when you think of, or me, I'll take myself, for example, sometimes in the Christian environment, singleness can almost be shamed if you're not married by a certain time, or if you are single for a long time, after a certain point, people will be like, okay, but what's wrong with you? Type of thing. So how do you view singleness at this point in your life? What do you think singleness means to you at this point? I'll start with you, Rod.
Singleness means to me, it's a time for you to find purpose. That's one thing I embraced throughout my time of singleness. You know, I may have people I talked to get to know, but most of those didn't work out. But it was a great time for me to learn who I am, and then learn what I love to do. So like I said, like I love making content. So that was something I found through my singleness. When it came to me when I was in high school, doing theater, and I love acting. So I was like, okay, I can do this for a living and then get a job to do that here at the church. It's amazing. And that's the reason why, because I was able to find that, is because I was single. I ain't had no distractions. I ain't had nobody relying on me. You know what I'm saying? Hey, when can we meet? When can we do this? No, through that time, I was doing things like Luke 2:52 talks about how Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and favor with God and with man. It's a time for you to grow in your mental, grow in your physical, work out, learn what you love to do and stuff like that. Build a good friend group, godly community, so you can have people to talk to.
That's dope.
And then when he or she comes, you'll be ready. So that's how I see singleness as.
What about you, Jen?
So I feel like you hit on so many things when with your question.
Look, we started off early.
I'm like stigmas. So to address the whole stigma part of it, I feel like people think that when you're single, you must be lonely or you must be sad in your singleness. You know what I'm saying? Like I think that's the whole idea that people think, oh, as you get older, like, oh, something must be wrong with her because she's single. So I think one of the biggest things or stigmas behind singleness is that you're single and sad. But at the end of the day, the truth is, like, to go into the next part of the question that you asked, like, what do you think the purpose of singleness is? Like, I was listening to something the other day. I can't remember if it was a podcast or something on YouTube, but it was like almost a simplification of like purpose and calling. And to me, one of our purposes in life is to know God and make God known. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like the calling is different because, you know, you have different callings, whether in different seasons. And to me, singleness is just a season that I'm going after a calling. But whether I'm single, whether I'm married, whether I'm in a relationship and heading to marriage, like I still have that same purpose to know God and make God known. So during that singleness, it's like Rod said, like you don't have the distraction. So the way you're knowing God and making God known, like that's what you need to be focusing on. It's not that I'm sad. It's not that I'm unhappy. And it's not that I don't even want to be married. But I feel like there's value in singleness, just like there's value in marriage.
Right. So. Have you either one of you had a moment where you felt like you was missing out on something because you were single?
Oh, for sure.
All the time.
Yeah.
The human side of me always, I mean, because at the end of the day, like, especially with social media, I feel like social media has like, amplified the whole idea of like, there is something wrong with you. Because even though I don't believe that, you do have those thoughts and you struggle with the fact that like, dang, like, because one thing married people do well sometimes. Sometimes not that, right?
Look, married people, we not coming for you. We just speaking.
I want to be like y'all okay? It's like they give you a list of things that you need to be doing. Oh, you're in the house, you need to go outside. Oh, you're doing this, you need to do that. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but dang, where was I going with that? What you just asked me?
No, we were
I was about to go somewhere.
No,
I was about to hit a really good point.
We were talking about singleness. Do you feel like you're missing out on stuff?
Sorry. I'm back. Sorry, y'all. But at the end of the day, like I feel like, I think you asked, like, have I ever had the thoughts of am I missing out? And it's like, yes, I have. Like, and it does. I was saying that it doesn't help because you have these people who keep amplifying the fact that you are missing out. Like, it's something better over here. Like social media, you see the happy couples, you see the marriages, you see the photo shoots. But you just kind of take it and move on.
I agree with you. I feel like for me, when you were talking about some of the lists of the things that you feel like you have to do, like if you are single, it's because you're not doing something right? And you need to do this and you need to do that. And so I do feel like I've gotten to the point because when I remember turning 30, I had just got out of the engagement and I was like, man, like life is over. Like I'm not married. I don't have kids. Like this is over and I'm going to be 40 in a few months. And so I am now taking it. If I could do it all over again, I would embrace, and me and some of my friends were talking and she was saying how like embracing the singleness part of like, if I'm going to be single, I'm going to enjoy it. Like, I'm going to go on trips.
For sure.
I'm going to, like, do different things like that. And I think for me, I did a lot of my time trying to prepare for marriage versus, like, preparing for like enjoying my single season.
Mm-hmm.
Rod, do you get, I know for females, we
Yeah.
tend to kind of like put marriage on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm.
Do men do that? Or is that something that is a church thing? Or what is your thoughts on that?
I mean, I believe, one thing I think just men in general, we have to be better at being vulnerable and just being honest about different things because marriage and relationships, that's something we do value. Like I know for me, like in my season of singleness, you brought something up that made me think about myself. Is that through my time, like I would listen to like different messages and sermons that we may have taught on about marriage, about dating. So then when that season comes, I'm already ready. But I think as a whole, just men in general, we just need to be honest and be vulnerable about how we feeling. Yeah. Because we do want marriage. Like I do.
Yeah,
I know I do. I want marriage. I want some kids. You know what I'm saying? I want to teach them the way. You know what I'm saying? But then even go back on your question about social media, like Jen, like you said, like it does amplify, like you feeling like, dang, I guess the life I'm living ain't right. Like, and something messed up with me. Am I built different? Like it just made me think about the memes that I see. Like you see those memes like, oh, this could be us, but you playing. Yeah. Like that right there, I see those memes. I'm seeing, I'm like, dang, is that supposed to be me right now? You know, then I'm looking around, my friends, like, they with people they dating. I'm like, dang, God, you did that for them. What are you gonna do it for me? Yeah. You know, so social media does play a role in it, especially when you see people's reels and stuff. Because I see that now, like, as a single man now, I'm glad I learned this now. The reason why they call them reels is because it's highlight reels. Right. You know what I'm saying? Right. Just because you see a highlight reel on your feed doesn't mean like, oh, Bobby and Janice, like, they look good, are doing good, but are they really happy? They just doing it for the clicks. So that's something to just be mindful of when you.
And I think you said something too, Tiff. Like a lot of times people, and I ain't trying to take up your podcast.
Girl, no, listen. I want you to. This is why we have you on here because we want to hear.
But I feel like it's crazy because a lot of times in life, like you said, like you spend your single season preparing to get married, and then when you married, you be like, I wish I would have did this differently. Yeah. So I feel like the world does a bad job at trying to make marriage the all and
ultimate goal.
The ultimate goal.
Yeah. Right.
It's like, no, whatever season you're in, enjoy that season, be the best you. Like you said, go on trips, have fun. You know what I'm saying? Because you ain't gonna get it back. Right. But, I mean, that's the goal. Right. Get it back.
And one of the things too that I'm learning to work on is patience because I've been single for a longer time now, and so for me, patience is one of those things.
Hey, talk about it.
Let's talk about patience.
You be like,
for real.
God, okay, like what is happening? Yeah. So when you think of or for people who are listening in that patience, how are y'all practicing patience? Or is that something that you kind of like struggling with right now of like, okay, I don't want marriage to be like the ultimate be all do all because that's something I want to do, but at the same time I want to be patient and embrace the single season that I'm in too.
You want to go first? Let me go first.
Hey, I'll tap into this. Hey, if I be really transparent, patience is something God's still working on.
Okay.
Like, one thing I noticed, like when it came to me dating, like I could be hasty with relationships, like
hasty to get to the marriage,
hasty to not get to the marriage, but like into the relationship.
I got you.
So like being exclusive with somebody, like when she said, "Oh, she like me. Oh, cool. Let me go ahead and give her this gift. Yeah, we together.
Real bad. We together. Real bad.
Hey, you lying. But then in the end, because of me doing that, and we just started talking within like 3 weeks, I'm over here getting hurt, and then I'm like, hey, why I do all this stuff? I know wasting my money to pay for this and do all that. So yeah, patience is something that God has definitely been working through me on, because there's been plenty of times where I've talked to people in the past and I've heard God tell me, be single. I'm like, I don't know because of the social media, but then also your friends, they're over here dating people and you're just like, I don't know, God. But then I've learned throughout, like, it's worth it because like you said, like in your single season, it's just so important to embrace and make memories. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like Jen and I, we got a friend group, like we'll hang out, we'll go to like Top Golf. We'll go to places just to do stuff. Right. And those memories like that are what's going to help us when we get to that marriage point. We can remember like, dang, I really did live my singleness out well. So that's how I answer that question.
And I think also too, I was listening to Pastor Mike, who we got in the building with us. He's in the background watching. In the singles conference, he talked about where Adam was like doing his own thing, living life. And the Bible says it was good for him not to be alone, but he wasn't specifically saying like marriage.
Right.
Even though marriage is good, he was just saying it's not good to be alone. And one of the things that I like what you said is that you have a group of people who you can do single life with. And I think it's so important for singles to not be so focused on, okay, who can I date? When can I date? But also having people, because now, honestly, if it wasn't for my friend group, I don't know like where I would be, because they really like keep me grounded and solid, especially in those moments when I'm like, listen, I'm past the expiration date.
I'm trying to hop down. I need somebody.
Right. And so I think that embracing your friendships during this time is very important. But in that, let's talk about some of the friendships, because as you get older, like you said, Rod, you do have your friends who are getting married and you lose some of those friendships. And I don't think that people really understand the grieving process of like you losing friends as you get older and you're still single. And the reason why I say that is because some teaching, not every teaching, I don't feel like we have it here at church, but some teaching feels like when you get married, you have to lose the single friends. Like you can't hang out with them. You can't be around them. I don't believe that, but that's some of the things that people have. So how do you navigate the grieving process? And I don't know, it may not be a grieving process, but for me, it's been a grieving process of having friends, and you kind of constantly have to vamp your friendship because the friends who you were friends with now are married and they just have their own thing. And I don't think that it's an intentional thing, but I think that is you do have to revamp or rechange your thinking process when it comes to that. How do you all handle that?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard because when I was in college, I had like a really solid group of friends who I felt like we would be friends for the rest of our lives. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of them got married, obviously, before I did. And I even had a friend, and I love her. You know? Watching this. But it really broke my heart because when she got married, she literally sent out a text to all her single friends and told us that God had told her that she needed to focus on her marriage and she couldn't really be friends with us anymore. And it's like, wait, what? So, but as it progressed, a lot of my friends, even if they didn't say it out loud, they kind of did the same thing. Did it. Like they would have events at their houses and they would only invite the couples. Or they would go out and it would only be a couple things. Well, obviously, if I'm single, I can't come. So it kind of makes you grow away from those people that you thought would be there forever. And part of the hardness of it is that a lot of my Christian friends were the people that did that. And I ain't gonna say my other friends weren't Christian, but just as a delineation. My friends who were not so like high and mighty in the Christianity, like they didn't do that. And so it also amplifies it and it makes you think like, dang, am I doing something wrong in the Christian space? Because my friends over here not doing it.
Right. And it almost comes off as we gonna jump off onto you into the singleness and make you cheat and have an adulterous relationship, you know.
100%.
And we just
like I don't want your man. And I'm not gonna encourage you or him to do something crazy. That's exactly 100%.
Now I do think that there's a balance, because I do think that there are some people who they don't care anything about your marriage. They don't care anything. But I do think that you have friends who respect it and they admire it. And I think that, you know, I love to have friends who are married because I can like learn from it. I can grow from it. Even my friends who have kids, like I may not be in that season, but I'm learning from you in that season too. Exactly. Did you ever have a point where you kind of got mad, like, okay, God, all of these people is getting married and doing different things like that, but it's not happening for me. And I'm losing friends and they feel like God telling them that we can't be friends. Like, do you ever get to a point where you get mad? And if so, how do you combat that?
Well, just to piggyback what Jen was just talking about in that previous question, like I think it's important. I know for me, when I get married, I'm gonna need, you know, some for my friends there. You know what I'm saying? But I do understand that, you know, you have certain friends for certain seasons. Like you may have short-term friends that may were there to help you with you getting up, you know, you starting music or something like that, and you need somebody there to help you out. And then they're there for that season, they may go. But then God also puts those long-term friends in your life that's supposed to stay with you throughout. Because I know for sure, like, when I'm married, I know I'm going to need some time with the boys. You know, like, let's go Topgolf. Let's go do that. Let's go watch a football game. I'm going to need that whether they're single or not. You know what I'm saying? Because if they're for me and they're my friends, then I'm going to need to spend time with them and stuff like that. But yeah, even being in those moments like those, like I haven't had a moment like that where somebody was married and was like, nah, I can't talk to you no more.
Mm-hmm.
I never had that, but I have lost friends.
Yeah.
And just losing them, you think like, dang, man, I thought this was being my life for a long time. Like, they added value to my life and everything. Like, why would they leave? But the thing is, we got to remember, like, God sees ahead.
Right.
You know, Deuteronomy talks about how he personally goes ahead of you.
Yeah.
So he knows your detailed plan. He knows where you're going to go.
Yeah.
And the reason why maybe that friend is not there no more because they're, you know, teach person, they may drift you off somewhere that you're not supposed to go.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's just very important to just be mindful of that. You know, when you may lose a friend or so like that, just remember God's already seen ahead and he knows where you need to go. Right. And if they don't need to be there, they don't need to be there.
And I think that that's good because I have been in a position, Jen, like you, where I've had friends who've gotten married and they kind of had the idea that we couldn't be, you know, friends anymore like that because of the marriage. And I think one of the things that, like you said, Rod, that God has helped me with is that there's always a ram in the bush. Right. And so the people who in your life are there for a season and it's there for a reason. And so MK talked about one time in our staff meeting how there are different seasons. There are seasons of preparation. There are seasons of, like, you know, where you just may need to spend one-on-one time with God. And so really finding out, like, what season am I in currently, God? And then also, how can I make more of this in this time? But I've always told myself not to judge my friends because I feel like they're getting into a place of where they're trying to learn how to navigate marriage and stuff like that too. So I never wanted to be a selfish person who felt like they couldn't do that. But I did want to talk about it because I don't think that people really understand that there is a grieving process of losing friends, especially as you get older and you're single.
And the older you get, the more friends you see.
The more you lose.
If you're still single.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So,
right.
And I was going to piggyback too a little bit off where I said, and it kind of goes into the last question you asked about patience. I feel like one thing that I guess is essential is valuing, like, the season that you're in. But also what I feel like I've learned, because there are so many different things that make you feel, that can make you feel sad in singleness, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's losing friends or having to wait forever. But honestly, I just learned this lesson last week. So I'm not gonna act like I'm
hey,
just
listen,
like,
the Lord be teaching us every day.
Okay, every day. So I was doing a quiet time, and before I got up, I kind of was like sad. I was like pouting. I'm like, I'm not gonna get up yet because I just want to just like imagine what it's gonna be like. So I'm just gonna be in the bed. I'm just gonna pout because I'm mad. You know what I'm saying?
You imagine what it's gonna be like when you get married.
Like, I've been praying, I've been fasting, so now I got an attitude with the Lord, you know what I'm saying? So I'm pouting, and it's crazy because I felt like I heard God say, get up and stop pouting. And like, as I thought about it throughout the day, it's almost like, you know, when you're working with a kid or whatever. I don't have no kids, but I work with kids. And say you have promised the kid that you was going to give them something, but the whole time you're going to get it and you're preparing it, they mad. Like, they got an attitude, they pouting. And to me, I just feel like when God does send that spouse or send that mate, boyfriend, whatever, I don't want him to find me pouting. Like, I don't want to spend my single season sad or mad or got an attitude because he took too long, you know? So I feel like one thing that just helps is your perspective and your attitudes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can spend your singleness pouting if you want to, but it's like, what's the point? It's such a waste. You know?
And that was one of the things. So we interviewed my parents and they were talking about their marriage, and one of the things that my mom talked about was she had to work on some things, rejection and feeling like her self-esteem needed to be built up, because a lot of times we don't think that those pouting moments and stuff like that, those will translate into a marriage as well. And so, not saying, and I don't want people to think that I'm saying you have to be perfect, because I don't think that there's a perfect person. But I do think that while we're in this process, we can be working on some of those things. So what advice would you give to a single person who is struggling with contentment in singleness? What would you say to them?
You know,
even though I feel like we still in this process. Down the road, you know, we'll get to the point where we'll be like, listen, this is what you got to do. But like, what are you currently doing now to help you be a little bit more content in your singleness?
I feel like what I'm currently doing is making sure that I'm focusing on the things that God has told me to do. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like we talked about at the beginning, like we still have a purpose, whether God gives us a spouse or not. Like we were still created to like make him known in this earth. And I ain't trying to be like super religious when I say this. I really believe this. Like, so I feel like it helps when you're focusing and when your perspective is like, I still have value, I still have things to do,
Mm-hmm.
it helps you be in a place of contentment and gratitude because you know that you're just as valuable and important in this world.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think I would tell singles to just figure out what you're supposed to be doing in life and focus on that. You know what I'm saying? And find happiness and joy in knowing that it's nothing wrong with you. I feel like when you get caught in the idea that something is wrong with me or that I must be missing out, like you get in that cycle and you stay there. But when that's not your perspective, or when that's not your focus or your perspective, I feel like it makes singleness a little bit easier. Now, I struggle still. That's what helps me.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, I piggyback off that. Like, this is a time for you to figure out, you know, what things God has called you to do. You know, like even going back for me, like I know music is something I love to do. I mean, I have a job now. Like I know that's something I love to do. I love making content. So just focusing on those things. But then also, like I said, with, you know, the Luke 252 thing, like get yourself in shape. Like you want to be like, it, you know, it takes the supernatural, but also takes the natural too. Like, let me get in shape for your man. Get in shape for your woman. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, one time my mom told me this. She was like, you know, usually when you're doing the things of God and you believing for a spouse, you know, you could be doing it and then she just pop up. You know what I'm saying? Ooh, you know what I'm saying? Like the like person I'm talking to right now, like I just been doing my work, just popped up. And it's been going well. So, you know, just focus on your calling, focus on bettering yourself. And then even to getting those kinks out, like you were talking about, like there's some areas, low self-esteem or, you know, fear, work on those things. Like I'm grateful that at the church we had these freedom groups and I went through that.
That's good.
And it was a great opportunity for me to get rid of things such as fear, procrastination, anxiety, soul ties. It was such a good time and a good season for me to get those things out. So then now my mission now is to maintain that.
That's good.
But also it helps me because now, okay, that stuff's out. Now whenever she come, like I know what to do when those things try to come up again. But also those things are already worked out and worked through.
Shout out to freedom groups at Faith Chapel.
Shout out to freedom groups.
Because we need freedom. But that made me think about two things. Like, I don't know if you've heard it. Have you heard of Andy Stanley?
But
a long time ago, he asked this question, and it's like, are you the person that the person you're looking for is looking for? And it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, we're never gonna get to the state of perfection.
Of perfection.
But it's like we're looking for this person or this guy, in your case, a girl, and it's like you want them to be at a standard, but it's like, are you at the standard that they are looking for? You know what I'm saying? So during your singleness, you have time to work out those feelings of rejection. Because maybe they're not going to be a person that's going to be able to just like baby that all the time. Like, you know, maybe God wants you to be stronger before you find him. So,
you know, one thing that I've been doing too, which I don't think that most people will do, is I'll ask my friends and I'll be like, listen, it is free, it is open. What would you date me?
Right.
And what is something about me that you feel like is something that should be changed? And so I started doing that because sometimes you can be thinking that you could have this victim mentality and you thinking like you're doing everything right. But there are some things that you should be working on. I do think, so to answer the question, I think it's important to have people who you can surround yourself with and you can have those tough, honest conversations. And so I had one of my friends. I was just about to ask you what they say.
I know. Clock tea.
So I am a type of person, like if I feel a certain way and it's something I feel like it's going to help you, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to figure out how to say it. It's going to be appropriate, but I am going to let you know. So like your hair may be sticking up and I'm like, hey girl, like I think you need to brush it down just a little bit. So my friend was like, Tiffany, we love that about you. However, you need to be a little bit more sensitive to men when you're sharing stuff. And so for me, I don't think that I would change being honest, but sometimes everything doesn't have to be said. And there's a time and time for everything and a place for everything to be said. So that's one of the things that your girl is working on.
Listen, I'm proud of you. Listen,
thank you. Because
sometimes we think we be being living and it's like,
right. Or to the flip side, like you can be so. Another thing that somebody else is like, you're just like, oh, it's fine, it's okay, and you just you have to show a person how to treat you.
Yeah.
And a lot of times if you just like let it bypass and they just gonna treat you however you allow them to treat you.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things. So that's now.
Yeah.
We talked about singleness.
Uh-huh.
Let's get into this dating phase.
Let's talk about dating,
Okay, so we're talking about in the context of biblical dating.
Yeah.
Okay, so how has the dating scene been for you all? And what is one of the things that you hate about dating? And what's one of the things you like about dating?
I feel like it'll be different for us because we're in two different brackets, and you looking for women, obviously.
Okay, so we'll start with you, Jen, and then we'll come to you, Rod.
Okay. So you said,
how's it going for you? And what is some of the things that you like about dating and you don't like about dating currently?
Girl, for one, how's it going? I'm still single.
Okay.
Call me.
There you go.
I feel like I don't even know. I don't want to, I guess, be at the perspective that it's not a lot of men out here, but in reality, it's I don't see a lot of single men in the areas and the circles that I'm in. You know what I'm saying? Like, are men that are my age, like men that are attractive. Like I don't see them in they're not at the hospitals that I work at. So I feel like the pool for women is like a little bit different for me or than men.
Yeah.
I feel like our choices aren't as.
I agree. And then as you get older, like in my case, I was talking to a guy, Rod, and he was like, yeah, you barely made the list because you almost 40. So you got an age bracket too.
Wow.
You know, like if you over 40, they kind of like, you know, they so you had that as well. So I agree with that.
I don't want to call it ghetto, but you know, it's borderline. It's ghetto adjacent.
Yeah.
And I feel like one of the things I hate about it is that the boldest men that I've learned, you probably know I'm about to go with this.
Go ahead.
I've learned that the boldest men out there are not the single men.
It's
the married one.
Oh,
and
wow.
It's like,
listen, that is a whole nother topic, a conversation. Listen, because Jen, I be like, listen, y'all be trying to get us to rush towards marriage, but I'm going to need y'all to come and watch some of y'all married. Okay, you understand?
So that makes it just like that much more challenging because you're like, yo. Like,
and they even be on a dating app. I remember I was on a dating app. I went out, Rod. I was just like, oh, this is so nice. They was married and had five kids. Okay.
Ridiculous.
So yeah, it is a lot.
And so it makes it harder to be able to choose.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna let Rod answer, but we need to get back to this dating thing.
What do you like about dating? What are you enjoying about dating at this time?
Know, that is a good question.
You got to think about that one for me.
I don't have nothing that I like currently because I'm not dating.
I got
unfortunately.
you.
Like,
okay, so
and
you're not dating
because I don't want to. I just like I said, I don't really know how to. I think that's one of the other things. I guess when you're 37, it's like a little bit harder to figure out where these people are,
where to meet
you know
them.
What I'm saying,
yeah,
because like I said, they're not at the hospital. That's where I'm at a lot of the times. They're not in Birmingham. They're not at church because most of my friends are already married. You know what I'm saying? So I haven't really found that much success in the dating pool.
Okay, I'm gonna come back to you on that because that's a good topic, right? How would you say dating for you now is, and what are some of the challenges you feel like you face?
Dating now, okay. And I know y'all talking about the fellas. You know what I'm saying? I got fellas. I got you.
Where y'all at?
I got you. And listen, to whoever you dated, we not talking about you. This is we talking about single Rod.
We talking about single Rod. So hey, help them. One thing out of the challenges I didn't like, even in the dating pool, it's like. You see these female Christian girls, they say they P31s. I'm a Proverbs 31. I read my Proverbs 31. I'm, Bible study. But then when you try to approach them, they act like, I don't want nobody. But they putting themselves out there of like, hey, like, I know God, I know I'm in my season of singleness, but I want somebody.
Yeah.
Then when I approach you, like, hey, I saw what you said.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Nah.
I'm trying to focus on
playing cardigan. See, that's another thing too, like in relationships. And you talking to somebody and it's going well, and they say it's going well, stuff like that. But then when it ends, they like, God's just telling me I'm in a season of singleness.
Yeah. Do you feel like they're being truthful, or do you feel like they're just saying it just to say it?
Some truthful, some I feel like they're just saying it just to find a way out.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'll be transparent. I know I used it once before. You know what I'm saying? It's telling somebody, yo,
you trying to focus on God.
You trying to focus on God. Trying to get
good well. You just didn't like him.
It's hard to pull. Like, but I don't like. Just tell me what's real. Yeah. So that's the challenges. But I mean, other than that, like,
So let's talk about men dating and courting, okay?
Okay.
So some of the topics of discussions that have come up in my friend circle group for men is, do you spend money on first dates? Do you take them to the park? Do you go on coffee dates? How does that look for men? Because I do feel like that is a challenge, because you have some women, they like, if you're not taking me to these fancy restaurants and stuff like that, you don't like it. But that can add up. That can be a lot of money. So for you, how do you navigate dating, budgeting, and different things like that? Is that something that you think about, or something you kind of discuss in your friend circle?
Yeah, it's something I think about, and we do discuss in our friend circle. Like, I think it's very cool, and you know, people may see this as overrated, but like going to a coffee shop for the first date, or like, yo, like, I see you work out here, let's work out there together. Like, those environments, I believe, are great places to start, because it shows like, okay, can I have a friendship with you first?
Yeah.
Because it's very important to have a friendship with that person before you even start dating them.
Right.
And so I don't see those places as wrong places to go to initially.
Yeah.
Then, you know, as time goes on, it's like, okay, I like this spot. Let's see if I can take you to, you know, a restaurant and stuff like that. And I do think, you know, if you really like the woman, you know what I'm saying, I think you need to take care of the baby.
Yeah. Have you came across women who felt like going on a coffee date was not sufficient?
Nah, I haven't ran into anybody who was like that.
Yeah.
I know what they thought was sufficient is taking them to a fancy restaurant.
Yeah,
I know that. Like, you better take me.
Yeah.
You know, but then also I have learned even too, like when I'm trying to get to know them as a friend, like it's cool to even like, hey, you want to split? You know what I'm saying? I'll take care of the bill, then you take care of the tip. You know what I'm saying? Or we go two places, like, okay, I'll take care of the restaurant, you want to take care of the movie.
Yeah.
You know, I think that right there is slept on, because I think that's cool, especially when you initially starting.
Yeah.
Because it's like, just think about this, like I'm paying all my money.
Yeah.
We going to Paris. I pay like $200 for your meal.
Right.
Then we go to the movies. I pay about $50 for that.
Right. Like,
Right.
you at least get the movie.
Look, then 3 days later, I'm in the season of Singleness.
Yeah.
God over here.
Right.
Man, I just
You got
$250. Like,
So how do you set boundaries? Because I'm be honest with you, I have friends who feel like if you asking me to split on the first date, this not you, because you not, you know. So you have people who feel like the man is supposed to splurge and do all of this stuff. I'm of a belief, I think coffee dates are great, like what you said, because now I don't feel pressure that you just spent all this money on me and I have to continue to get to know you because you just spent this money and I don't like you like that for real. So how do you set boundaries when it comes, for both of you? How do y'all set boundaries when it comes to dating, of like, okay, I'm trying to get to know you, but at the same time, I want to be intentional, but at the same time, I don't want you to spend a lot of money if I don't know that I really like you like that. How are y'all navigating that part of dating?
Like I said, I'm not dating currently, but when I do start dating, this is what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Come on.
I feel like it's just important to have communication.
Yeah.
You know and like you said, I feel like both of y'all kind of alluded to it. To me, you don't have to just jump right into like, you're my boyfriend, you're my girlfriend. Like, are you even dating? Like, let's just be friends. Let's just hang out. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like clarifying where you are at in the situation or in the season.
In the season.
Because are you dating other people? Like, if you're dating other people, my expectation isn't that you taking all of us to spending $250 on all of this, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that's just selfish.
Right.
But it also may be the type of guys that I'm trying to date. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like just communication.
Yeah,
upfront. Like, just be upfront in the beginning. Like, when, you know, you about to go on that first date, like, hey, you know, I'm about to go on this first date. Usually what I do, just because I'm getting to know you right now, like, hey, what you think about splitting it? You know what I'm saying? I could pay for this, you can pay for that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so having that communication up front, I believe is very important. So then you go into that date like, dang, you expected me to pay for this. Like, what?
Man, when we are dating though.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? All right, when we dating.
I ain't gonna lie. If I'm dating a guy like, and we're exclusive and he doesn't pay, then I'm be looking like, okay, now.
If you exclusive.
If we're like,
y'all have said it's y'all boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay. And like, now this is official really first
date. Okay.
I feel like it's a little bit of a yellow, almost red flag. If he doesn't pay, because it's almost like, why aren't you paying? At Rod's age, it's a little different because he's 25. Like, you know.
How you know Rod wanted you to tell his age?
You
may not want you to tell.
The people know. I'm just playing. I'm 25.
He said it at the beginning.
I did.
Oh, okay.
Because to me, when I was in my 20s,
Uh-huh.
my
Yeah.
expectations weren't as high because we're just graduating college.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just getting out of school. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you're making six figures.
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And not that I think you're making six figures at 35 or 37, but I do expect you to be a little bit more financially secure. So if you cannot pay for dinner, then...
So do you think it's wrong with having the expectation of them being financially stable?
No.
And financially stable doesn't necessarily mean a cap of how much you make.
No.
You're just
Yeah.
saying just a stable,
no.
like they have, credit that's they're working on,
Yeah.
For sure.
making it better and different
Because
things like
I
that.
could do better by myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. At this big age, like, come on, like, at least, financially stable.
Yeah.
You gotta be making money.
Yeah.
You
It's
gotta
almost
have
like a
something.
no-brainer. Like, it's
Yeah.
like, don't even try to talk to me. Because what are like,
You gotta have a job.
you gotta,
J.O.B.
Right.
Yeah.
and you gotta be stable in that job.
You feel
Okay?
me?
What are you spending your money on?
Right.
Okay, so expectations.
Yeah.
What are y'all now? Okay, so you had some earlier, you have some now.
Mhm.
What are your expectations now when it comes to dating? What are you all looking for?
I would say first with me, I'm looking for friendship.
Okay.
I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe that's the foundation you need before you even get into a dating relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm expecting and looking for like, okay, can we laugh? Can we have a good time with each other?
Yeah.
Minus the, romantic affection and stuff like that. I'm looking for that. Like I used to have high expectations for different things. Like, oh, she's supposed to do this. She's supposed to do that. And then I'm getting hurt.
What
by
were
it.
some of the expectations?
Right.
Let's go back. In my younger days as a 25-year-old.
Right. 2 years ago.
I would say some things I expected. Ooh, I'm trying to think. What's some expectations I had?
And you can be honest, right? Look, set the people free.
Set the people free. Okay. I'm trying to think though. Like, what are some? I know I've had some on me, like expecting to see me every single day.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing for me. I would say that too. Like I'm expecting, like, okay, we talking. We need to be seeing each other about every day.
Single day.
We need to be on the phone 24 hours, falling asleep on the phone.
Like,
That's the expectation. That's what I had. But as I got older, and and I realized like, okay, I'm seeing you too much. Like this is just like, because sometimes I even get in my head sometimes about that, like with the sleeping on the phone and stuff like that. And it's all gonna tie into the question. But it's like God, am I seeing them too much? Am I like taking away like the blessing that's gonna happen when I get married to that person? Like falling asleep on the phone. I'm not saying it's bad or nothing like that, but I'm saying like, is it taking away that like that spark that you're gonna see like when you officially get in the bed with them like in person when you're married?
Yeah.
And so that's something I think about. So I had that expectation like, yo, you supposed to talk to
him
every day, all the time. Like you ain't got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Bump your family.
Right.
I'm your family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And you felt bad, like you felt like they didn't like you if they weren't spending all of their
Yes,
time with you.
yes. But then that ties into the deeper stuff. Like, okay, if they don't like you, that I feel like that's a you issue because it's your insecurities. Like, I believe that boils down to insecurities and low self-esteem. Like you thinking like, oh, they don't like me because they ain't hanging out with me. No, they got a family. They got people to hang out with. They need some self-care time.
And trust.
And
it's
trust.
Like, if you don't trust them to get off the phone with you,
Right.
you want to marry them.
Yeah. So let's talk about Christian dating because all of this is singleness and Christian dating. How important is a person's relationship with God? So what do you guys how important is their relationship with God? And is that something that you pray about when you get into the relationship? Or do you get into the relationship, let it go on, then start praying about it?
Ooh, let the room just be.
Marinate on that.
Because,
that's good.
You want to go first?
You go ahead. You got something?
I mean, of course, I want a person to have a relationship with God. Like, that is, like, almost a non-negotiable. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want my guy to know God, to love God. Because at the end of the day, like, one of his roles in marriage is to lead the family. And it's like, whose leadership are you under? Like, who are you submitted to? Because if I'm submitting, I need you to be submitted too. So, yes, of course, you need to know God. But I said that because it's almost like, I feel like, have you ever been asked, like, would you date a guy who isn't? And it's like, ooh. I can't say no. But I mean, like, yes and no.
Yeah.
So, so it's definitely important. Like, I'm not trying to act like it's not. It's important.
So when you say they have to have a relationship with God, what does that look like? Does that mean like
talk about it,
going to church all the time? Because I'll tell you my experience.
Yeah.
My experience of at first, I used to be like, okay, well, if they saved and they go to church, I think I can rock with that. I'm okay with that. You know what I'm saying? But as I got older, I'm like, nah, I need you to have a prayer life. I need you to not just be in church, but the word needs to be in you and you need to be living it out. Because there are plenty of people who come to church and they look like they're like, you know, into the word, but the word is really not into them. So I think it has changed. It has changed for me of like what my expectations are. And so what does that, when you say you want them to be in the word, or Ryan, you can ask, what does that look like for you?
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say there's levels to that. Like the
it
person
is
loving
levels.
God.
And I just did that.
You feel me? Because I've dated and talked to people who said they love God.
Right.
I don't see no integrity in that. Like, I don't see no type of substance. It's just, oh, I love God.
Yeah.
But then you see them on Snapchat like, oh, I love Chris Breezy. Like, I'm all in there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, doing things, drinking, smoking, you know, hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. Like, for me, what I look for, I do pray for that. And I remember Dr. Moore did, when he did the dating intelligence, like years back, he had that confession, like, I believe I'll marry the right person. I do that confession every night.
Oh, that's good.
Just to remind myself.
We have to see if we can find that so we can put it in
gotta
the
find
chat.
it.
Because he sent it to me.
Hey, I got it. It's in my notes.
Put it in the
you know
descriptions.
what I'm saying?
Okay.
But I think it's very important because, like I said, like I look for a woman who loves God, but then also I gotta see that integrity.
Yeah.
Like the word in you, like you said, like I want to see, okay, the way you act at church is the way you acting outside of it.
Sure.
You know, because integrity is very important to me. I value that. Because I've been in relationships where I've seen people, they act a certain way at the church. Yeah. Doing everything. But then you see them outside of church just wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good because, and I feel like it goes to what you said. I feel like it's levels to it, but also I want to be able to like see that you know God. Because yes, I want you to go to church. Yeah. And yes, I want you to know the word, but I was listening to, I don't know if it's Darius Daniels. I was to somebody that I don't want to give nobody credit. Really, I ain't do it, so my bad. But they were talking about how, like, when you go to school, like, the teacher can test you on the fact that you have memorized the information, but they can't test you on the fact of if you're really, like, doing the information.
Yeah, that's
life,
good.
You know what I'm saying? So, to me, going to church isn't enough. And knowing the word, honestly, isn't enough. It's like, how do you respond in situations, like, when we arguing, because I don't argue.
So you're saying you can know the information, but that doesn't mean that you're really applying the information, or you're not applying the word, even though you come into it, right?
God, you know what I'm saying? So even with the levels of that, it's like I need you to be at a level that you're actually getting the word and digesting the word and applying the word. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, like, being submitted isn't just about, can we go to church on Sundays? Like, because I want to dress cute and I want to wear the same outfits and the same colors. Yeah. But I also need to know that when our family gets into a tough situation or a good situation, that I
can depend on you spiritually.
Exactly.
Because I think of, like, for women, I think of the head of the household, not just physically, but spiritually as well. Like you said, when we get to a tough point, can you pray for me and different things like that? I also do think, though, that there is a balance. I see sometimes my friends who are in a Christian environment, they expect the person to be perfect when it comes to their Christianity. So I don't think that it's a perfectionism thing that you should be looking for. But I do think that the heart of the person should be wanting to live for God. You get what I'm saying? But I do think it's a balance of also, like, people aren't perfect. So there are going to be some things that they're going to do that you may have to, just continue to pray that God show them how to, change and get better in that.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Because I wonder.
Look at her. Look at you asking the host question.
No, look. It's a piggyback off what you asked.
Okay.
Do you feel like someone would ever, or God would ever allow you into a situation, or I ain't gonna say where it's like you're called to, like, show your boyfriend or spouse God? Like, because, like, would you date a guy that's not a Christian? And it's like, what if it's like, does that make sense? Like, do you feel like God would allow you to date somebody that's not a Christian because you're supposed to show him that person?
So I think, when you were saying it, I think about, like, Joyce Myers, because I think her husband wasn't, she wasn't saved or something like that. Even Pastor Mike and Miss Pete, they weren't, Miss Pete wasn't saved. I think, though, but one of the things that they talked about in one of the episodes that they'll see later is knowledge. And so now that I have the knowledge that God says not to be equally yoked, for me, and I can't speak for anybody else, that is something I feel like goes against what God has told me not to do. Now, I've always been under the mindset that if the person has a heart for God, you can be out in the world, come into a relationship with Christ, and then you have a heart for God and you're striving, but you may be a babe in Christ, but you're striving towards that. I can be more lenient to that, in my opinion, than I can be to somebody who's been in the Word, but they're stubborn and they're not willing to change. So I don't think necessarily just because you're in the church and you know the Word, that the Word is in you. And I think it's one of those things that you have to be led by the Holy Spirit when it comes to. So I don't think that you should be unequally yoked. I don't think that, for me, I don't think that Christians and unbelievers should be in a relationship. But I do think that if a person is a babe in Christ, God may give you the grace to help them along that journey, because some people have a heart for God. They've just never been exposed to it, you know? Like in some cultures, I met a guy, and in his culture, Christianity wasn't really a big thing. And so once he got a hold to Christianity, then he was like fired up to it. So I try not to make it a be all do all thing, because I think some people are just not exposed to Christianity. But if they are exposed and they have that heart and hunger for God, I could work with that. What about y'all? Would y'all do that?
I don't even think I would. I don't even think I would touch it.
I agree with 100% what you
Yeah, I agree with everything you said.
Because I wonder if people, because I feel like a lot of times people think and ask me that, like, would you date a person that's nice? But I agree with what you said.
And I always, because I've had people who've been like, I feel like God told me to talk to this person, and then they say it, and I'm just like, well, you know, I just try to let them do their own experience, because I think there's a lot of things, you know, like I don't feel like if you're an unbeliever, you can be leaning into the wisdom of the Holy Spirit. And so for me, that is very important, that you are leaning to the Holy Spirit when he say do something or not do something, because there are going to be moments in marriage or in motherhood, fatherhood, that the Holy Spirit may tell you to do something, but if you don't have that in you, you're not gonna.
Even if we're like arguing, like if I'm seeking the Holy Spirit, and you're seeking your homeboy's opinion, like we're probably not gonna come to the same agreement. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like I asked you that because a lot of times when you're single, as a woman, I don't know if men kind of feel like this, but you almost get the urge to settle. And it's like, okay, God, I've been praying for this. Maybe this is what you got me for. But it's almost like I just asked it from for the women who who just want a relationship so bad that they would be willing to settle. You know what I'm saying?
We got a few more minutes, but I wanted to touch to the social media aspect. How do you? Because sometimes I feel like social media can be overwhelming, and now they have it to a point where if you watch one reel on relationships, it's gonna just your whole page, the algorithm is just gonna like bombard you with it. Do you get to a point where you have to like step away from social media and not really like be so focused into it? How do y'all navigate singleness and social media?
Ooh, that's good, because then my job is related to social media.
I know,
so
it's
I'm
tough.
in front of it every day.
It's tough.
But one thing I've done that I make it a practice now is Mondays are my off days, Mondays and Saturdays. And so all throughout the week, I'm always on social media. So what I do on those off days, I just cut it off.
I like that.
I cut it off because I'm consuming it every day and intentionally, unintentionally, just from working, but then also leisure time. And I know on my timeline there are relationship stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, when you find that one, you know, when you find that right person, this is a godly woman. This is how it's supposed to be. Like I see that all the time. And it's like,
so many things you're getting bombarded with. Like you're trying to figure out which one is right. You know?
Like is he supposed to be like that? He's supposed to be like this?
Is he a high value man? Is she a high value woman? Like it's just a lot.
And so one practice I do make it a habit of is on those Mondays and Saturdays, I just cut it off.
That's good.
Because I just need a time just to get away from it so I can just reset. And just lock in to the present moment. You know what I'm saying?
And I ain't gonna lie, I'm at that place now. Like I'm currently taking a break from like social media or like through fasting. Because I'm not gonna lie, like I feel like when I was like younger, before social media was big, like such a thing.
A big thing.
I didn't struggle as much.
With, like,
you
didn't feel the impact.
And so, and maybe it was because I was younger, but I do really feel like a lot of it is because of how much we are bombarded, even TV. So I'm breaking from TV and social media right now because last week again, so I had to go into the closet. Okay, I was like, let me get into the prayer closet. I was watching Love Is Blind, and I was completely fine. Yeah. And I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't say the name of the show. I was watching this show on Netflix.
It's fine.
And I was fine all week, but this day comes, and I'm like, oh, I'm about to binge it. Yeah. And then I find myself like crying. Yeah. Like, and not necessarily because I was sad, like, but it was just because it's like I'm watching it, I'm seeing it, I'm seeing people get married, like, right. And so one of my friends texted me, and I'm like, I'm sad, like, and he was just texting as a friend. Yeah. And he's like, what are you watching? Yeah. And I'm like, oh, you know what? You're right. Like, a lot of times we have to guard what we're allowing in our gate, because it does have an impact on what you feel. You know what I'm saying? And since I've been fasting, like, I've been straight. Like, of course you still think about it. I'm not saying fasting is like the perfect thing, but I feel like
it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. And then I feel like it's more to it than what we'll probably ever know. You know what I'm saying? Like, as it relates to social media. Because it's like the aimless scrolling. Like, how much does it really distract you? Like, how much, what spiritual stuff is, you know, in it that's really, like, attacking us that we don't realize. You know what I'm saying? So,
and social media is designed to just do that. It's supposed to bombard you. That's how they create it. Like you said, the algorithm is created for you to, you like something, okay, I'm going to continue to show you that more and more.
And it's created for you to get addicted to it.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And I do think that you have to guard, especially if you're in a season and you feel like you're kind of struggling with contentment. Right. You really have to guard what you're watching and what you're hearing. Because if you're watching all marriage shows or like lovey-dovey stuff, like, you can kind of get to that point. So I do think that that's good. So we're at the end, but I do want to ask, what piece of advice would y'all give to singles who may be in the season of singleness? Some people may be content, some may not be content, but what piece of advice would you give to other singles in their single season during this time?
I would say, I would give them the advice that I feel like God told me last week, as it relates to stop pouting. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't, because if you're believing for it, and if you really trust God and know that He cares about the desires of your heart and that He's going to give you those desires, you know what I'm saying? Because obviously marriage is a biblical thing. It's not anything that I feel like God would be like, no, you shouldn't do it. Yeah. So if you know that God is going to do it, when you pray, He hears you. You know what I'm saying? Know that He hears you. So don't let God find you pouting.
That's good.
Focus on loving yourself, loving God, making God known in the earth, and getting to know Him for yourself. And becoming the best version of yourself.
Right. You know that's good. So, I like that.
I would say just embrace the moment. Because this moment you in right now, you're not going to get it back.
Right. Yeah.
You know, make the most of your singleness now. Like I said, I think it's very important. This is your time to find your purpose. This is the time to figure out, oh, okay, I like doing this. Oh, I can make a business off of this. Yeah. Oh, wow. I didn't know I was this good at doing this and doing that. And then also getting in shape. Yeah. Meeting people. Get godly community around you. I'm telling you, when you do that, like, you're gonna have the most fun. Then that thought, and like you said, it's still gonna be there about like, man, I want a spouse and stuff like that. It's still gonna be there. But you'll be so focused on that when that person comes, like, oh, it just fell into my lap. Yeah. You know, so I'll just say, just embrace the moment that you're in. Embrace the season that God has you in, because you're not going to get it back. Yeah. You know, it's something He wants you to do that somebody needs in their life. So.
I got one more piece of advice.
Okay, girl, go ahead.
Because I feel like this is important too. Because I feel like a lot of times it's our thoughts are the thing. Because a lot we can blame social media too, and I'm saying it's
legit. A part of it. Yeah,
and other people are a part of it, but also like sometimes we are our own worst enemies. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like my advice would be to monitor your thoughts as it relates to singleness and like who you are. Yeah, and I heard this woman on Better Together say, like, when a thought comes to you, like, you have to filter it.
Where is it coming from?
Yeah, where is it coming from? And is it legit? Like, okay, you may feel worthless, and it's like, I'm thinking that I'm worthless. But is that legit? Like, is that true? Is that what God told you? Like,
that's good.
Is the truth? You know what I'm saying? So monitoring your thoughts is important. To me, I feel like that's what leads or puts you in that little circle of sadness that makes it harder to be single.
I think for me, one of the things that I'm learning, that contentment is not dependent on another person. So I will say you do want to be around godly friendships and be around different people, but contentment, if you feel like contentment is going to be based off of people are going to disappoint you at all different times. And so so you have to redefine what contentment look like, finding contentment in God. And I know that's easier said than done. But you have to kind of remember, like, He's a person of His word, so He's not going to ever leave you. He ain't going to never forsake you, even though you may feel like it. Just remembering, like, He's the same God today as He was yesterday. And so I think one of the things, if I could go back, is to embrace it, but also remember that my contentment is not dependent on another person making me happy. So for the audience, if they want to follow you all on social media, how can they find you all, or how can they get in touch with you all? Because the conversation has been so good, and they may want to reach out to you. You know, your husband or your wife may be watching. You know, how can they find you?
Tell us, Jen.
I'm just playing. If you want to contact me, but don't just pray about it first.
Yeah, I'm her brother too, so you better watch out.
Just pray first. But my Instagram handle is Jennifer, JNNIFER Browner.
Okay,
like the color,
Jennifer Browner
with the underscore.
Okay,
and you'll see me. So
okay,
that's it.
Jennifer Browner _. You can follow her on social media on Instagram. Okay,
yeah.
You heard that, fellas. Jennifer
call me.
Browner.
If God said it's you.
But pray first.
Pray first.
All right, how can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, at It's Rod Parker.
Yes.
You can find me there. I just dropped a project. It's called Winning.
Yes.
It's an EP, Christian rap. You can check that out. You know, if you a winner, go ahead and listen to it. So.
Stream his music.
Yeah.
He may be taken it soon.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
But I thank y'all for coming, because again, like I said, I wanted some single people who are not just single, but they're thriving in the singleness. And I feel like you guys are thriving in the singleness. So thank y'all. So if
we appreciate you guys.
Yeah, for real. Thank y'all.
If you find that this video or this episode was helpful, please be sure to share it with somebody who is single, because we love conversations like this. And if you want to hear more conversations like this, because again, we're going to be talking about relationship singleness throughout the month, you can follow us on our YouTube page at Mike Moore Ministries. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook as well. We thank you guys so much, and we will see you all next time. Bye. Yeah.
But a long time ago, he asked this question, and it's like, are you the person that the person you're looking for is looking for?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, you're right. Like, we're never gonna get to the state of perfection.
Right, of perfection.
But it's like we're looking for this person or this guy, in your case, a girl, and it's like you want them to be at a standard, but it's like, are you at the standard that they are looking for? You know what I'm saying? So during your singleness, you have time to work out those feelings of rejection, because maybe they're not going to be a person that's going to be able to just like baby that all the time. Like, you know, maybe God wants you to be stronger before you find him. So
you know.